Hey guys, this is Neil with Catalyst Machine Works, and today I'm going to do a frame assembly video for our brand new Whoopmaster 6-inch. This is the machine sitting before you. I apologize, the camera that I'm using is sufficiently close enough to the work table such that I can't get the entire thing in the shot. So sorry about that. This beast has got a little bit of size to her. This is a 6-inch prop whoop lifter. This is a Cine Whoop, as some people call it, and it's designed for carrying cinema cameras like the Red Komodo, Blackmagic, Naked Blackmagic, things like that. Or you can carry GoPros if you want, front or rear, or a combination. And so I'll explain a little bit of that later. I do want to point out that this is the big brother to the 4-inch Whoopmaster. We released the Whoopmaster a few months back, extremely popular, so we figured we'd go ahead and up the ante and come out with something so you can carry some cinema cameras. Alright, so I want to be clear, this video is not going to be a full build where I put in all the electronics from soup to nuts. It's going to be just an assembly of the bare frame. Then I'm going to use this example right here to explain to you how the electronics go in, what electronics fit, some suggestions for what electronics you should be using, and a whole bunch of other information. Additionally, I will discuss the waterproofing of this machine. There is an all-weather option, which this machine I've got in my hands is. And so if you pick the all-weather option, which turns out is extremely popular, I'm going to explain how to go about doing that. Now, I want to be clear, this is not waterproof. It doesn't mean you can go and dunk this new machine out in the pool or in the lake and expect everything to be okay. It's designed to fly in the rain or the snow and not have to worry about it coming out of the air. But do not dunk it in the lake. It's a bad idea. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, I want to let you know that I had a discussion with our professional builders who are currently building some bind and fly quads for customers, and they have given me the most efficient way to put this thing together, right? So I do all the design work for this stuff, and then I've got lucky enough to have some very highly skilled individuals that go and put my theory to reality and actually build these, and they do a fantastic job. But anyway, so what they said is they have found that the order of operations that is most efficient is to start with the top plate, right? So this is the top plate here. Okay, ignore the camera mount. This is the top plate. It's just one big piece. And you build upside down, okay? So when I open up this electronics access cover plate, you'll see that everything is sort of built upside down. But after you, and by the way, if you're doing the all-weather option, you then have a TPU skirt that you're going to add to the top plate, and then you build all the electronics into it, and you wire the motors, and you do everything without the prop guards installed. After you've done all of your electronics and finish that up, only then do you install the prop guards. That keeps all of this material and all this stuff out of your way when you're building into the center. So let me go ahead and show you. Okay, here's all the parts. Obviously when you receive it in the mail, you know, it's going to be better organized, but I just grabbed all the associated parts so we can do this video. So I'm going to pull some of these out of here. Again, this thing is quite large, so not everything fits in screen and view, but we're going to do the best that we can. So let's just pull this out. Big Bertha right here. Okay. All right. Oh, and by the way, I've been saying the word big a lot. I don't want you to get scared if you're considering purchasing this thing. It's not that big. This is basically, or it is, a 6-inch drum. Okay? It's the same size. It looks larger because it has prop guards, but it's a 6-inch drone. It's really no bigger than any normal 6-inch freestyle drone, except I've placed material around the props, right? That's why it seems so large, but it is not. You can still do some fantastic proximity flying with this thing. So this is the top plate, okay? And so what I'm saying is that what you're going to do is you are going to add on the skirt, and then you're just going to build everything just like this, right? Right into the center, right up until you're ready to go ahead and then install the prop guards everywhere. All right, my friends, let's get started with the first step. So I've got the top plate laid out here. I've got this heat sink. This is a TPU skirt. We've got 8 M3 by 22 millimeter long knurled aluminum standoffs, and then we've got some flathead screws. These are M3 by 8 millimeter, I believe. Now, if you didn't buy the all-weather option, the frame is going to come with a carbon fiber version of this. And then obviously you won't have the skirt because you didn't buy the all-weather option. So most people tend to buy the all-weather option. It's kind of a no-brainer. All right, so we're going to build it like that. The first thing you do is take the heat sink, place it in here. Then you're going to take your screws, run through this side. You'll see there's a little chamfer to accept the screw. And then you're going to put on the standoffs. We're going to do all 8 like this. And through the magic of video editing, when I come back, it will all magically be done. All right, so we've got all the standoffs added. What you want to do is take your driver, and at this point, just go back through and make sure that these are snug. All right. Now, another thing I want to go ahead and point out is in these locations, here, there, and here, there are supposed to be some M3 captive nuts that are pressed into this plate. When you get your top plate, they're going to be pressed in. I happen to have forgot and didn't press them in. All right, so what those are used for is, you see this bolt pattern here for the camera mount? It matches. And so the screw that holds this camera mount on runs through into those captive nuts. So that's what that's for. All right, so you're going to have those installed, so you won't have to worry about that. Now, the next thing you want to do is install the skirt. Okay, here's the skirt. Now, I want you to notice that the location of the holes for the motor wires are closer to one edge. The holes need to be closer to the heatsink here. Additionally, you see this big hole right here? That is for the GPS wires to run out to the GPS. The wires run through this slot. So you need to position these holes closest to the aluminum plate, and then also orient this hole so that it shoots this direction towards this little slot. All right, but before we put this on, what you have got to notice here is, if you look here, there's a little channel that runs all along the perimeter of the skirt. And what that's designed to do is to hold silicone in it. If this was flat and we pushed it against a flat surface, it's going to squeeze all the silicone to either side. So this channel holds a bead of silicone that is going to stop water ingress into the enclosure here. So what you want to do before you put this on is just get a little bit of silicone and push it all the way and fill up this little channel. All right. So we're going to go ahead and put this on now. We're going to orient it this way. Imagine that I'm not going to do it, right? But imagine that we've got silicone on here, so you have to be careful and slowly position this down and press it over these standoffs. Keep going all the way down. Keep going. Okay, until this thing seats fully. Now, what you're going to want to see with your silicone is that it pushed a little bit out of the seams, out of the sides here, and that you've got silicone all the way around it. If you don't feel comfortable, if you think that maybe I didn't use enough in one area, it's okay. Just get a little bit on your finger, go into the corner and push it in. Just make sure it's all waterproof in there. Try not to make a mess. Okay, silicone can be, pardon my French, but a pain in the ass to work with. It's kind of sticky, gets everywhere, so just be delicate with it and take your time so you don't make a big old mess. But it is the ideal material to waterproof this thing. All right, let's go on to the next step. All right, so the next step is to start installing your electronics. I've got some pictures here for you. This is a picture of what the top plate looks like as you begin to install your electronics. So you can see with this picture here, we've got the ESC installed. So underneath the ESC, what you want to do is use some kind of thermal tape, thermal glue, thermal pad. We prefer thermal pads, and you can find them on find them on Amazon. This is what they look like here. They just work really, really well. So I suggest thermal pads. And obviously the purpose of the thermal pad is to transfer heat from the ESC into this heat sink. Right, so you can see there that in this picture the motor wires have been run through the little holes in the skirt running out to the motor, so you're going to want to cut those to size. And then you're starting to install. Let's move on to the next picture here. This is further along, and in this picture you can see that we've got the air unit installed. See it there? It's running out to it's got the wire that runs out to the camera on the left side with the camera plates already joined to the camera. Then you can see we've already got the flight controller installed. Right? We've got all the wiring for the main pigtail running out through the holes in the back. And you can see that panel mount XT60 on the right. Okay, that comes with the kit. You see it's run out to proper length, so when you get the carbon fiber piece that goes in the rear that joins to that, it mates up properly. Then you can also see that you're going to need some MMCX to SMA extensions. I believe these are 9-inch long, if I'm not mistaken. You can see those running all the way through the back. And what those do is they then come through these little slots here. Okay, so you're going to basically take and run those through here, and then when you put the bottom plate on, put a little bit of silicone in there, and it waterproofs those and holds those in place. Now you can also see that what we've got in the top sort of 2 o'clock portion of the picture here, it's got black shrink tape over it, but that is a step down, right? So we happen in this particular build that you're seeing the picture of, we happen to be using a Radix 2. It does not have the capacity to run an HD system. This is a 4S air unit. So what I do is we use a step down that goes from 6S down to 12 volt. And then we power that into the air unit. And that's how you power the video system. Okay, now another thing I want to point out about this picture is look where the wires are running out to the motors. There's these black things covering up the wires. What those are, let me see if I brought some. I didn't bring any, but I can show you guys here. Here they are here. Okay. You can see it here. Let me flip it over. All right. You see that there? That is a plastic airfoil, and it's also a wire cover, so it's dual purpose. Right? So what you do, and this is an accessory that we sell, and most people end up buying these, is it has this top portion that's the top of the airfoil, has holes in it, and you run these little self-tapping screws come with it. Those run into the bottom portion of the airfoil here. And it's nice because you don't have to use zip ties then to hold your wires in place. It's real nice and clean. And it helps a little bit with airflow, right? So you have less negative pressure on this side of the plate as there's a pressurized thrust column coming through here. So that's what those are for. Okay. So now back to this here. One thing I want to mention when you're installing your electronics, let's go ahead and bring this one in view here, is you've got to make sure that you're waterproofing everything, right? So when you run something, let's say that it is, you know, one of these wires running through the wall here, you're going to have to put some silicone in there. Just put a little bit of silicone so it seals it. Right? And you can see that you can actually fit quite a bit of stuff in this. Okay, so we've got a big air unit. We've got the ESC, the flight controller. We've got a cap for the ESC. We've got the step down here that powers, this is a Pololu unit. It's like 24 bucks, it's awesome. Powers the air unit, nice, confident, clean power, reliable, okay? We've got this is a Castle Creations step down. This is a 12 volt step down that runs out to this here, this XT60. This XT60, you can then use an adapter to run up to and power your Komodo or whatever camera you've got. It is 12 volt. If you want to do some sort of different voltage, well, you need to get a different step down. Okay. In addition, you can look here on the side. That is our Diversity Crossfire receiver. And it's running out to these two antennae here. And we've got them oriented perpendicular to each other. That's the way you want to do it. Okay. These holders, these Crossfire antenna holders, are an additional accessory sold separate. Right? Then another thing, this machine's got a lot of options, right? This is our first, actually, let me step back a minute. This is our first professional offering that is sold as bind and fly or DIY kit. We thought long and hard about whether we were going to actually do that or not. We decided to do it. And you're lucky because for years we wouldn't sell pro rigs like this in anything other than bind and fly. So you can build this yourself if you'd like. But enough patting on our own backs, and let's get back into it. So another thing that we have designed in is the capacity to install a GPS unit. So this is an iNav bird. It's got full return to home, position hold, all that good stuff, made possible by this compass and GPS right here. Okay, so we've got some wiring that runs through. This is sheathing around here. This is EMI sheath that we like to use. It's running through this little slot and into this big hole in the side of the skirt. And then that is wired then, of course, into the flight controller. You can see it here. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it there. Now, here's another thing. Okay, you see where the USB is on this flight controller? There is no way to get to this USB unless you're using Magic. So if you have Magic, that's good. You can use your Magic. Or you need a adapter. So this is a adapter. This is a USB-C adapter that runs through here. And then it runs up and over and comes out a hole in the front of the skirt right behind the FPV camera. And then it runs to this guy. So this is how you access your flight controller. Sorry, my lighting's kind of terrible. But this is how you access your flight controller here. So we sell these on our shop. You can get a hold of those there. All right. Now, there is other options, right? You may not necessarily need magic. You could take this flight controller and spin it 90 degrees. That puts the USB here on the side, and then you can take and get your USB adapter into there. But if you're using the all-weather option, that means that you're supposed to take this, which is the cover plate, and put silicone here. And then put this down on here, like that. So if you need to get in and program this thing and you don't have this adapter, well, now you've got to break the seal, get in here, program it, put silicone on, and redo it over and over. Obviously, you don't want to do that. So I just wanted to stress the importance of this little USB adapter. All right, so now there is one more thing I do want to mention. Okay, whenever installing anything that produces heat, air unit, step downs, you want to use thermal paste. I'm sorry, not thermal paste. You can use thermal double-sided stick tape. It's usually blue, to adhere these boards to this heat sink. Once this thing is closed up, you've got to have a way to get heat out of the system. That's what this big heat sink is for. Okay, see how we've got fins here in this top carbon? All right, we've got this big open hole right here. And then there's also, you know, this plate for the camera mount is separated from the top plate. So air, as you're flying, air is flowing over this entire heat sink and pulling all that heat away. That is super important. And if you're not using thermal tape, you're going to have problems. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next step. On to the next step, and I want you to use your imaginations, just like you did when you were a kid. Ready? Okay, I don't know why I'm waving my hands around like a mad, crazy person, but imagine that your electronics are installed. Okay, you've got your motors installed. Your wire for your camera is out here. The camera plates are connected to it. You get all your mess out in the back. Your XT60, your SMA adapters, GPS wires running out here. Your XT60 is running out here from your step downs. All the stuff is installed. So the next step is to go ahead and get some more standoffs. And so you're going to have 2 more of these longer standoffs left. This is M3 by 22 millimeter. And what you're going to do is install those right here on these inboard holes right there. Okay. Then you're going to take these. These are 14. There's 14 of these, and they're M3 by 20 millimeter long aluminum standoffs. And you're going to put those in various locations, and I'll show you where those go. This, oh, by the way, you're going to need these. These are M3 by 8 millimeter. I think they're M3 by 8 millimeter. And run these in here. All right, now let's get 14 more of that same size screw. All right, my friends, we've got now 14 of these M3 by 8 millimeter screws, and we're going to use them to install these. Okay, so where do these go? So these standoffs are going to go right here, there, here, there, 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 and there. And then they are also going to go, it's mirrored across this line. So they're going to go on the other side there, 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 here, 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 and there. Now you're going to notice that this is a little countersink. In all these positions it's countersunk. That's going to give you an indication of where you need to be placing these little standoffs. They go in that little countersink. All right, so let's put on one of these on camera. And then for the rest of them, we're going to use the magic of video editing. And when we come back, they'll all be installed. Ready? Shazam! Off camera, I added all of the standoffs. I've got them all in position. You can see where they're located here. There, 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 and there on both sides. All right, let's move on to the next step. What we're going to do is install the prop guards now. All right, I'm going to do one side on camera. I'll speed up the footage when we get to the portion where I'm having to duplicate steps, so you don't have to watch the entire thing. But then off camera, I'll do the other side. So let's go ahead and get started. The way this works is we have these two pieces. These two pieces go on one side, and then of course it's mirrored on the other side. The first one you put on is this one, okay? And it only goes in one way. If you try and put it on this way, it's not gonna fit. You put it on this way, you'll figure it out. Then this one, see how it's different? It's got these little doohickeys. That's the technical term for what that is. That's a doohickey on either end. So that's how you know they're different. Now, the next parts that you need are these screws. There are 14, I think these are M3. I know they're M3. I'm not quite sure the length. I think they're M3 by 20. They're the long ones that you got in the kit. Then you've got these little standoffs. These are not threaded. They have a through hole. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these M3 by 10 millimeter long. There are 2 of these M3 by 8 millimeter long. The M3 by 8 go there and there, okay? So what you're gonna wanna do is take this, take one of the 8 millimeter long standoffs, one really long screw, put it through this piece, put your standoff here, and then join it, go through this other piece, and then into the standoff, the threaded standoff. Okay, we're going to go ahead and sort of screw this down. Now you don't need to get it tight, just get it snug. You're actually going to remove that later. This is just temporary to hold things in place. These two are temporary to hold it in place for the other steps, and then you're going to install this bottom plate and you'll back those out to install the bottom plate. But for now they're just in there to hold it, so we'll put the other one in the other side. Go ahead and screw this down. All right. Now let's go through the other locations and put in these. These are the 10 millimeter. One here. Right, so we've got those installed. Okay. Now let's do the other side. I'll go ahead and do that off camera. All right, let's go ahead and install the bottom plate. You want to make sure that you've got some silicone here along the perimeter of the skirt so that when you put this on, it's watertight. You've got your camera plates installed. Obviously, use your imagination. You've got the camera pre-installed there. It's already attached to the plates. Okay, make sure that all your wiring is running through the appropriate slots. Okay, you got a slot here for the camera wire. You got a slot here, 2 slots for the MMCX to SMA adapters. When you put this on, there's a little slot here, a little cut. Make sure that's facing you. Okay. And then this plate is going to go on top of these locations, on the bottom prop guard. Okay, so let's go ahead and position this. Slide this in here like this. Okay, that's how she goes. Then what we'll do is we're going to take this, position it like this, take your standoffs, these are 8mm long, run them in here, take one of the long screws and pass it all the way through. All right, let's do the same thing on this other side. 8mm long standoff. And in a minute, I'll go through and show you the stack order. I know that this may be a bit confusing at this point. You're going, wait a minute. How do these stack up, Neil? Well, I can't see, but don't worry. Don't you fret. I'll show you how it goes together. Okay, so look at here. Okay. So, you've got this guard, the bottom plate, the standoff, the top guard, and then this part. Okay? That's how it works. Works the same way on the front that we are going to tackle right now. Okay? 8mm long standoff. Goes in between here. This part goes here. And then run your screw through the whole thing. $8mm long standoff. Okay, so you can see how that all goes together. All right. And tighten these down a bit more. Okay, and obviously this is where your XT60 is going to be mounted in. Okay, right here. That's where you connect your battery in. Now, we're going to take the side joints and install them. This is a 10mm long standoff. Goes here. Take this existing screw, run him out. Right. Looks like this. And then put it back in place. That's how it looks. Do the same thing for the other side. Okay, we're going to run our little standoff on there. Okay, there we go. So we're looking pretty good. All right, let's go ahead and install the landing gear. So this is what they look like. They're 3D printed. We're going to install them with some number 4 by 1/2 inch long self-tapping screws. Let me get my trusty Phillips head screwdriver and go ahead and install these. I want to do, take the screw and run it through this hole here, line it up with the hole on the part. All right, that's what you're going to do there. Make sure it's snug, and we'll go on to the others. All right, guys, we've got all of the landing gear installed, front and rear. Looking snazzy. All right, so the next thing I'm going to mention is something I forgot about. For installing your motors, we provide these 6mm long M3 screws. There's 16 of them. So that's nice to know. Additionally, for your stack, we include some nylon screws. You can cut these to size if you need. We also include various nylon spacers. Okay, you've got these guys. This is a little, I think it's 2 or 3 mil tall. You can use this in conjunction with your ESC, and then the pad, the thermal pad. You can determine which of these works best for you to make sure that you've got contact between the pad, the ESC, and this heatsink. All right, and we also include some little aluminum nuts for your stack. Okay, now the next thing I will discuss is this guy. All right, this is the, we'll call this the electronics access cover plate. And you can see you've got your straps running through here. We provide these straps in the kit. Well, this thing needs to be waterproof, right? So if we just had these slots open, then we could get water ingress, and we don't want that. So we also provide these parts here. These are 3D printed. Let me grab a couple of these. This is what they look like. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is install those onto the cover plate like so. Okay, they go in this position. You're going to want to take, there's a little channel right here. You're going to want to take a little bit of silicone, rub it on there, and then install those. These are installed with these little self-tapping screws. These self-tapping screws, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 12 of these things that are included in the all-weather upgrade. Okay, so that's how that works. Then obviously you can run your straps through there, and that's how that works. So now, to install this in your kit, we are going to have these little button head screws, right? I believe these are 8mm long. And these go obviously in these spots here. We're going to run all these in. All right, off camera I installed the rest of the screws, so this is what it's going to look like. Okay, that's sealed under here, waterproof, ready to rock and roll. All right, let's talk about these. These are the arm bumpers. These are an optional part. You don't have to use them if you don't want, but if you do want, you'll have to buy them separate. So these include a little self-tapping screw. There's two of these that are two self-tapping screws that are included per part. Let me show you where those go on the finished. On the finished unit. They go here and there. Okay, and you can see it's got this little opening here. You slide that over the standoff. Slide this one over this standoff. Position them in place, as you see here, and then screw them down with the two included self-tapping screws. Pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not going to demonstrate that on camera. Okay, with this finished unit, I will explain a few more things. Some more accessories that we include, things like these. Right? These are to hold on the Immortal T antennas. You can see them here and here. Those also use some self-tapping screws. Number 4 by 1/2 inch long to install those. Then we also sell this. This is a GPS holder for this GPS. Okay, this is a specific Maytech unit. The name of it is escaping me now. I'll put it up on screen right now. Okay, so that particular one will fit in our optional GPS mount that we sell online. Okay, and all the hardware to install all of these guys is included with the part. Okay, now let's see, what else do we need to talk about? We also sell a camera mount. So this is the standard camera mount. This thing will accept just about any camera you could imagine, as long as it's within the payload limit of the machine. And all the associated parts that you need are included with the camera mount. Okay, so it also includes dampers. You can see these dampers here. These are A1 silicone dampers that we have used for years with our scene lifters to remove vibrations out of the footage. All right, my friends, let me show you how these dampers work. When you get them, they're going to be joined together like this. Okay, you take the little top off of it and you stick it in the hole from the bottom. Goes in like that. Then you turn it over. You take the top and you carefully place it into position. See that? You're going to do it for all 9 of them. Okay, just go through, position the bottoms where you see I've got them, and then take the top and position it in place. push them and make sure that they're all seated correctly. Again, this is very soft nylon. It's interesting to work with. And we'll take the machine, place it down on your work table. Then you're going to line up with all of these locations where you've got captive nuts. Okay, and line it up like this. Right, then you've got these little circular bits of carbon. You're going to run these in here with the included screws from your kit. Please keep in mind that this camera mount is sold separate. We also have another camera mount that fits a Naked Black Magic. I'll make a separate video for that one, but it is pretty self-explanatory how it installs onto the machine. Okay, now off camera I'm going to go and screw all these down, but I do want to mention something. When you are screwing this down, because of this silicone damper, what it tries to do is the silicone grabs this washer, and the washer, as you're torquing it, tends to take the silicone and want to wrap it around and causes all kinds of problems. So this hole right here is in position, is existing in the part so that you can hold, you can take another driver and hold this washer while you screw it in. Okay, so what that does is it stops this thing from torquing and twisting your silicone up. Right, so that's how that works. So I'm going to go ahead off camera and torque all these down. Alright guys, off camera I went ahead and disassembled the optional camera mount aluminum parts so I can show you how the various fasteners go into this thing and then how this assembles to the craft. Okay, so I didn't disassemble this portion. It's so simplistic. I'm sure you can just look at this and determine how this thing goes together. So there is this top plate that your camera actually attaches to. And look in the middle, there is a adapter sleeve. That adapter is to adapt from the native slot, which is on this part, which is for a 3/8-16 screw, down to a 1/4-20 screw. And to attach this little adapter, if you'd like to use a 1/4-20 screw, you use some flathead M3 screws that come in the kit. They're the shortest ones. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how you attach that. Then these two parts, they look like this. It's got a little duck beak on it right here. And then this one that doesn't have the duck beak. Those attach to the top plate by way of these flathead 8mm long M3 screws. Right? The next thing that you do is take these two parts right here. Before you install them, take the longest screws, I believe these are 20mm long, and run them through these parts. You'll see why later. Then take this one that has the laser etched markings, position it like this. These are M4 screws, and these little guys here are called Nordlock washers. Okay, take this screw, run it through the Nordlock washer, position it here, and then run it into the mating part. Make sure when you do this that you've got this piece on. The reason for that is you can't get this piece on unless you do it prior, because it won't slip past the top plate there. Okay? Take this other screw. You're going to want one of the Nordlock washer sets. a normal washer, and then your M4 screw. Now, this washer, this is important, this washer goes on here, then the Nordlock set goes on. But this washer is stamped out of steel. You'll notice that one side of it has a sharp edge on it. The other side does not have a sharp edge. The side that does not have the sharp edge goes down towards the material, down towards this anodized aluminum. If you make a mistake and flip this over, that sharp edge is going to cut into this material every time that you change angle, and you're going to mar up this surface and it's going to be ugly and you'll be mad at me. But I'm telling you now, if you do it this way, it's not going to screw things up. Okay, so flip it over such that the smooth edge is down. Take your Nordlock washer, the screw, and then put it together. Right, and we're obviously going to do the same thing on the other side. You may be asking, what in the world is a Nordlock washer, Neil Whiteley? Well, we use Nordlock washers here because they're fantastic at resisting loosening due to vibration. In other words, we don't want your camera flying off the drone when you're flying it, because that's bad. Right? That's why we use those. Okay guys, so now let's attach this to the drone. We've got some 20mm long screws, some 8mm long screws, and the existing 30mm long screws that are captured in this assembly. Okay, you see how we've got these captive nuts here? Position it over the top. Now, before I put it on here, I want to show you guys something that's cool. Let's say that you wanted to film behind yourself. You could flip this around if you want to, and you can film behind yourself. Now that causes a whole bunch of possible problems, like this antenna being in the way. And then of course if you fly like this, maybe the camera's going to be looking at the sky, but you can flip this around 180 degrees if you want. So anyways, let's put this on. Screw this down. Alright guys, we've got it fully installed here. Okay, you're going to want to take your hands and move it around, make sure that it is moving without restriction. Okay, and let's put our antennas on here. There we go. Okay, let's talk about the GoPro mounts. So we sell two different GoPro mounts. There's one for the front and one for the rear. Okay, these are really pretty simple. There is a M5 screw that runs through here. I'm sorry, runs through here. Then there is a hexagonal captured nut that you press into this hole. Okay, then there are some aluminum sleeves. There's 4 of them that you press into these bores. And this, obviously you can't have this mount on here, it needs to be removed. You can't have a GoPro and the mount at the same time. Then it mounts to this bolt pattern here. These screws and then these locations here. And you're going to mount it on there. The way that the rear mounts, and you can go and kind of figure this out, but the way that this works is this portion, you see this portion that is bigger, this portion is pressed onto, let's get our other frame here, this portion is pressed onto these standoffs in the rear, these standoffs here. Okay, so what you're going to have to do is pull these screws out, remove these 2 standoffs, press the standoffs here. Okay, so they'll be running through here, then position this thing back in place, and then these 2 have 2 aluminum sleeves that run through here and here. You position it like this, and then run these 2 screws down through it. Okay, then obviously you're going to use the same M5 screw here and then hexagonal captured nut there, and that's how the rear mount works. Alright guys, I think that that's all I can come up with. I hope that this was helpful. Again, this is our first professional offering, sold as Bind and Fly, our DIY kit. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to email me at info@catalystmachineworks.com or support@catalystmachineworks.com, and we will get your questions answered promptly.